All stand, please. Please be seated.
Yes, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Honour. Firstly, thank you for accommodating us in terms of the extended lunch and adjournment. Now, just to recap, Your Honour, the plaintiffs now expect that we've only got really 2.5 witnesses to go. We're about to call Dr. Marsden Smedley, and then the final witness for the plaintiffs is to be Mr. Wrigley, the farrier.
Right.
Now, I mentioned the 0.5 because Mr. Hall, of course, is still doing his homework, as it were. So if it's convenient to Your Honour, I'll call Dr. Marsden Smedley.
How do you propose to deal with his evidence?
Your Honour, I was going to ask Dr. Marsden Smedley to identify each of his reports. I was going to draw Your Honour's attention to the curriculum vitae parts of 2 of his reports, and there's part of one report that I don't need to read, and one of his reports that I don't need to read at all because they relate to the fire suppression case, which is no longer part of these proceedings. And then I think Council's expectation is that Your Honour might require a little moment to go and read the reports before he's cross-examined.
All right. Mr. Reid?
Yes.
Thank you. I like it when you say yes. All right. Thanks, Mr. Armstrong. We'll deal with it in that way then.
Thank you, Your Honour. I call Dr. John Marsden Smedley.
Will you take an oath or choose to make an affirmation?
Affirmation.
Do you solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that the evidence you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please say I affirm.
I confirm.
Thank you.
Yes, please take a seat there, Dr. Marsden Smedley. Make yourself comfortable. I think that's fresh water. Yes, it is a fresh water beside you, should you feel the need for it. Yes, thanks, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Honour. Would you excuse me one moment?
Sorry, inquire. 122. 123.
My apologies, Dr. Marsden Smedley. Would you please state your full name for the court?
Jonathan Basil Marsden Smedley.
And Marsden Smedley is spelt with a hyphen.
Correct.
Thank you. And what is your address?
41 Avon Road, South Hobart.
Thank you. And what is your present occupation?
I am a semi-retired bushfire management consultant.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Marsden Smedley, you were engaged in 2013 to prepare a report on, for the purposes of an inquiry conducted by the Tasmanian Government into the January 2013 bushfires that occurred in various parts of Tasmania. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could I ask the court operator please to bring up document 123 in the court book? And Dr. Marsden Smedley, what we have here on the court screen is at least the first page bearing the text and the photographs that you see there. Are you able to identify that for His Honour as the first page of the report to which I've just referred?
Yes, that is the report I prepared for those fires.
Right. And would it assist you to be scrolled through all of the pages of the report, or are you content to accept from me that it's a full copy of the report?
I accept that that is my report.
Thank you. Now, in addition to that report that you prepared during 2013, the report itself is dated 2014, you have prepared 4 reports plus an addendum report for the purposes of this proceeding, correct?
Yes.
Could the court operator please bring up court book document 12? which is exp.001.001.0030. And if we could go across to the next page, and then if the court operator could please display the next 2 pages side by side on the screen.
Can I just make one request, please?
Yes.
I'm slightly hard of hearing.
Right.
Can you just speed up a little bit, please?
I will do my best,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Marsden-Smedley. Thank you. Now, Doctor, do you recognise that as the contents page and the introduction to the first report that you prepared for this proceeding?
Yes.
Thank you. And could the operator please take us to court book pages 0034 and 0035? And Dr. Marsden-Smedley, is that a accurate summary of your curriculum vitae and your expertise that you deployed for the purposes of preparing this first report?
I'm still on page 4 and 5 on my screen.
Yes, so you see that at the top of page 4 is section 1.2, expertise relevant to preparing this report.
My apologies. Yes, that is correct.
All right, thank you. And then just to complete that section of your report, could we also see court book page 0036? Right, thank you. Now, I'll come back to that report in a moment, Dr. Marsden-Smedley. I just want to identify each of your reports first. Could the operator now please bring up court book document 13, exp.001.001.0113, and display court book pages 115 and 116. And again, Dr. Marsden-Smedley, do you recognise that as the contents page and the introduction, the first part of the introduction to your second report in this proceeding?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, could the operator please now display within this same document pages 117 and 118? And Dr. Marsden-Smedley, you described there further aspects of your education, training or experience under various topic headings. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's a listing, or at least so far as we can see here, that's a listing of the aspects of your expertise that you've brought to bear for the purpose of preparing this second report.
Yes.
And to complete that section, could we now also display pages 120 and 121 using the court numbering? And same applies, I take it, Dr. Marsden-Smedley, that's further aspects of your expertise that you've deployed for the purposes of preparing this second report.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, could the operator please next bring up, and Your Honour, I'm not tendering this one, I just want to identify it for Your Honour so that it's on the record as a report that was prepared but is not read. Document 14, which is exp.001.001.0204. And could the operator please display side by side court book pages 0206 and 0207? And just to help you with the context, Dr. Marsden-Smedley, we see from the introduction, and I can tell you that this is the whole of the introduction, this is the whole of section 1.1 to this third report. This report was prepared by way of a response to a report that you'd been provided with that had been prepared by a defendant's witness who you refer to as Mr. Incoll, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Incoll's report and this third report of yours deals with what might be called the fire suppression case.
Yes.
Right, so, as I said, Your Honour, I don't seek to read that report, but it is part of the listing and has been referred to as Mr Marston Smedley's third report, so I needed to identify it. Next, could the court operator please bring up Court Book document 126. I beg your pardon. Before we do that, I'm sorry, Your Honour, I jumped over one aspect, Dr Marston Smedley's second report. Could we go back to Court Book document 13? And within that report, could we go to page 145? And Dr Marston Smedley, it's the case, isn't it, that section 5.2 in your second report and section 5.3 all deal with what I referred to a moment ago as the fire suppression case?
Yes.
And likewise, if we could go please to page 0170, section 6.3 also deals with the fire suppression case.
Yes.
And again, Your Honour, because that's no longer part of the litigation, I don't need to read sections 5.2, 5.3 or 6.3 of that second report.
Are you reading the entirety of document 123 or simply the parts relevant to the Fawcett bushfire?
Your Honour, only the parts relevant to the Fawcett bushfire. We can provide Your Honour with a listing of those perhaps.
Yes, well, I'm just wondering if for Mr Reid's purposes I need to look at any other sections of it.
If you do, Your Honour, they'll be very specific, discrete sections that need to be looked at. So there's no need to read or to have regard to the other fires. There might be one aspect of each of those which I'll be referring
Well, I
to.
sort of picked up on that this morning, or when you opened it, I suspect. Yes, all right. Okay, well, I'll deal with that when I come to it.
Thank you, Your Honour. Apologise for that. Now, I think, Dr Marston Smedley, we were next on to Court Book document 126, exp.001.001.0633. And could we display pages 0635 and 0636?
What's the document number for this one?
126, Your Honour.
126.
And Dr Marston Smedley, do you recognise this as the fourth of the expert reports that you've prepared in this proceeding?
Yes.
Thank you. And lastly, could the operator please bring up Court Book document 149? And you see there, Doctor, that it's titled an addendum to the fourth expert report by you. And could the operator please display pages 0635 and the next two pages. Thank you. And do you recognise that, Doctor, as the addendum to your fourth report?
Yes.
Now, Doctor, have you had an opportunity to review your various reports recently for the purpose of giving your evidence today?
Yes.
Subject to the corrections that are explained in the addendum to your fourth report, are there any other corrections or alterations that you wish to make to any of your reports?
No, there are two trivial typos, one in each of the first and second reports, but they don't change any of the meaning of the reports.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Dr Marston Smedley, do we take it that the matters that are set out in the reports to which I've taken you, your 2014 report, your first, second and fourth reports and the addendum report are the expert evidence that you wish to give for the purposes of this proceeding in respect of the questions that were asked of you?
Yes.
Thank you. So please, Ryan.
Yes, thank you. Now, Mr Reid, did you have anything that you wanted to say before I retire to consider these documents?
I didn't actually hear the learned friend say that he tendered them,
No.
or I take them as tendered. And what I don't object to the tender, but what I do have to say is that self-evidently the report from yesterday I've not had, well, came yesterday, I've not had the opportunity to consider it, especially given last night, which was spent because of late delivery of Mr Bones's proof. So I'm...
Document 149 you're talking about, the addendum?
Yes, the addendum, yes. And I've had little opportunity to consider document 126, which was delivered on the eve of trial. But I'm not in as difficult a position with that.
Yeah.
There's a fair bit in this for Your Honour to digest.
Is there?
I would have thought that, well, I won't think. I'll leave it to Your Honour to see. But
one should never change the habits of a lifetime.
No, indeed. Your Honour, it may be that it's appropriate to commence at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, although I can use some time this afternoon if it's available, but things will probably flow a bit more easily if I can put all this together.
All right. Dr Marsden Smedley, it wasn't known to me until this afternoon just how Mr Armstrong was going to go about introducing your evidence, whether he was going to take you through question by question through all these documents, or whether he was going to ask me to read them all, and then he and Mr Reid ask you questions about your report. Well, now it's the latter course, so obviously it will take me a little time to work my way through your reports. So I think I'll adjourn until 10 in the morning then, Mr Armstrong.
Please, Your Honour. Just make 2 points, Your Honour. Firstly, if there was an implicit suggestion, an implicit criticism in my learned friend's comment about the fact that these reports have come in recently, Your Honour will note in particular that the fourth report and the addendum report are responding to issues which are not pleaded and have only been raised in the course of the defendant's opening written submissions, namely the suggestion of the burning route having started as a result of the September bonfire, or the suggestion of a second fire that had started unrelatedly at 1:30 in the area between White Hills Road and Inala Road. So the last 2 reports from the doctor address those matters which were first raised in our learned friend's written openings. Secondly, having identified those reports, Your Honour, I was going to seek leave, once Your Honour had had a chance to read them, to just ask 2 short questions of Dr Marsden Smedley by way of leading his evidence in chief, and then handing over to my learned friend for cross-examination. That process I would expect would take less than 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm never critical of a party in a complex trial. These things happen, and Mr Reid has his own difficulties as well. So.
This is a much more civilised jurisdiction than I'm used to, then, Your Honour.
I've practiced a bit in your jurisdiction. It's not as bad as the one north of it.
I agree with that as well, Your Honour.
Your Honour, if I'm critical, it won't be implicit.
No. All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr Marsden Smedley. I'll have some happy reading this afternoon and this evening, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
I'll adjourn.
Please.
Thanks, Dan, please. Honourable Court stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.